Thank you all for coming to today's training. I'm Olivier Lewis. I own RE/MAX First Realty 2 in Cranford, along with my partner, Carl Sanfilippo, who also owns RE/MAX First Realty in East Brunswick. So we're going to cover fix and flipping today. It's something I'm personally passionate about, and whether you like it, whether you're into it, whether you've done it, you're partaking in it. So let's figure out how, as agents, we can work with more investors, capitalize ourselves, and just have a better understanding of fixing and flipping. So, thanks to TV, fix and flips are very popular. They're they're sexy, it's the trend. Everyone has FOMO and doesn't want to miss out on it. And there's tons of shows, right? We're all guilty of the brother versus brother. Who here's watched Vanilla Ice Project? There's Snooki, Shore Flip, $1 Million Listing. The list goes on. And the networks are capitalizing. And just look at the dozens of shows that have come up over the last couple years. This didn't exist 10 years ago. Maybe there were one or two, and now you have dozens. And very popular. They're getting tons of ratings. Everyone's watching. So it's not going away. So love it or hate it, that's the market we're in. There's a big percentage of fix and flip deals on the market depending on your town and your market area. So let's understand it, learn it, and get more involved. So understanding flipping. In theory, it's pretty basic. It's you're buying low, selling high. So you're looking for a distressed property, something undervalued that you can put some renovation into. Sometimes it's light cosmetics. Sometimes it's a heavy renovation. But again, buy low, sell high. Very simple theory. Usually, depending on the type of property you buy, if you buy a foreclosure, a lot more extensive work. If you buy a short sale, sometimes if the owner just moves out, it's just updating cosmetics. You get those estate sales, you're just going in, typically new kitchens and baths. You can be in and out quickly, or if you're doing a more extensive project, you can be in there for months, especially with all the permits and red tape involved with the renovation aspect of it. So an investor needs to be able to source the property, find it, that's what I mean by that, and of course manage the project, and then you have to figure out your exit strategy. Most investors look to flip and get out. There's some investors that buy multifamilies, they hold it for a little while, lowers their capital gains, they want the rental income, and then they get out of it later. But with the fix and flip, you have to source the property, manage the project, which we'll get into a little bit later, and of course figure out your exit strategy. So, why should we as agents and realtors care about fixing and flipping? It's the market. There's some towns where it's, a third of the inventory. So it's popular now. Everyone's into it. It's at 11-year high, as you can see. And now that we're a recovered market and a better market, the prices are going up. So there's more money to be made and the values are up. And everyone that's kind of sat on these distressed properties, or you have a lot of landlords that haven't done any updates to theirs in years. Now they're like, wait a minute, I can update mine, cash out a lot more. And that's another way to source fix and flips. If you've managed something that's kind of run down, hey, renovate it and maximize the value. So we source properties daily. A lot of people say, well, I'd love to get in, I'd love to get involved. I have these investors, I can't find properties for them. But a lot of times we take it for granted that we're going into 5-10 homes a day, depending on how many showings you're doing, and we're sourcing them daily. Short sales are great. They're an awesome way to source a fix and flip. I personally think these are the ones that require less work. You're getting in and out of them faster. They are not typically extensive because the homeowners are just moving out. You have those terrible ones that they're vindictive and they take everything out, but you have a lot of them where they're getting relocation funds or they just walked away and you get it at the right time and they're not so bad. We've all shown foreclosures to buyers. That's a majority of the foreclosures wind up becoming fix and flips. You have some that will renovate them with the 203K just to occupy, but a lot of investors are buying the foreclosures, renovating them. Sometimes they're extensive and sometimes they're not so bad, but we all show foreclosures, we all show short sales, and the state sales are really good because typically they're in good shape. The owners moved on or The family's taken it over, and they're not beat up or run down the way a foreclosure is. They haven't been vacant for 7 years. Typically, they're not vandalized. So estate sales can be good fix and flips, especially since the estate sometimes gets desperate. Anyone seen a good deal on an estate sale where it's listed at a high price and you see it close for so much lower and you're like, oh my gosh, had I known, right? So those could be great ways to source fix and flips because the estate might not want to deal with it. They're paying insurance, the house is sitting vacant, they're paying utilities. If it's winter, they got to heat the place. It's too much headache, they're out of state, and that's a good way to source fix and flips. I personally love these, and if you watch any of those shows, I think Flipping Vegas is one where the guy raves about buying stuff with structural damage and extensive damage. The properties that sit on the market are deep discounts usually. The banks get desperate, the sellers get desperate, whether it's a structural issue, an oil tank. Sometimes you can buy those at a deep enough discount where it makes you positive equity-wise. What I mean by that is, so you got this nice house on Main Street, looks nice, you get in there and you see that the beam is cracked and the floors are sagging and there's an issue there. Guess what? If you can get that $50,000 off because no one else has bought it, it's been on the market for 332 days, that $50,000 off can only cost you maybe $30,000 to fix it. Everyone's run away from it, so you're positive 20 grand in equity. So there's always a great deal with the stuff that's been sitting on the market. A lot of investors run to the bigger problems because it's not competitive, you're not into multiple bids. We know typical homeowners will run away if they see like a structural crack or hear that. Typical homeowners will run away when they hear that there's a contamination with the oil tank or just something major is wrong. But for an investor, they usually run into those fires because you're going to get a better deal, which will mean a better ROI on your investment. So we all show potential flips. You have to be able to identify them. And part of the way of identifying them is figuring out when you're showing the home, wow, this is priced here. It does need some updating, or this is what's wrong with it. But if this were done and new kitchen, new baths, and all the bells and whistles, what would it be worth? You could be out showing your buyer it's not for them, but you're looking at it like, wow, this is great for Joe or Sally, my investor, but you have to be able to identify whether there's an opportunity there. So why work with investors or flippers? I personally work with a lot. That's been my business plan and model. I can tell you there's a ton of benefits which I'll cover, and I like to help the agents when they run away from it. And some agents feel intimidated. The investors are very pushy. They are very strong-willed. You know, you can't control them. They have their own opinions, and they're know-it-all sometimes, and they've done more of these than you. But don't run away from it. It's a very good business strategy if you have. I like them because they know what they want. Show of hands, who's here has shown a buyer 25 colonials because that's what they want, and then they make an offer on a ranch, right? It's happened to all of us. Investors, you don't have that problem. They know what they want. They want an ROI. They don't care if it's a ranch, colonial, as long as they can make money on it, they're good. It's not going to take you 30 colonials for them to buy a ranch or a townhouse. So that's one good reason to work with investors. They're usually cash buyers. We all love cash. No contingency, no appraisals, no underwriting, none of the red tape. So you close quicker. That's very good with investors. A lot of them are cash, or they're using hard money, which is almost cash, but also can close quick, which is the other point with the cash and hard money. You'll get to the closing a lot faster. We all love to get paid. That'll get us there today versus waiting for the underwriter to approve it or the appraiser to come out finally and appraise it. And you lose those risks and you can hopefully close it a lot faster. Part of why I love investors and why I think it's a good strategy for every agent is you show value, they will typically list the property with you. So how would you like to work with a client today, sell them a home, and in 6 months you get a listing and sell that too? That's what you get with investors. That's very, very appealing. Hey, homeowners can give you referrals, that's great. But you show value to that investor and you just don't open a door, but you show that you can help them and you're there to be on their team and make it a smart decision and guide them through whatever they need help with. Guess what? You're more than likely going to get that listing. So it's the quick sale today, get a check, Guess what? 6 months, you get a listing, get another check. So that's kind of the icing on top of the cake there, because you get 2 sales out of investors. And hopefully you build a relationship and it's long lasting, long term. So I've seen investors go from flipping 1 house to flipping 5, 6, 7 a year. So imagine you build that relationship. You guys kind of become a team where you're finding the properties for them. They're doing all the work. It's their property, but you get to list it back. And that's an awesome relationship, because if they're doing 5, 6 a year, you have 5 or 6 deals baked in. Think about it. You're not soliciting for 5 or 6 deals. You're not having a door knock or cold call or make 50 follow-up calls. You have your 5 or 6 deals because Sally or Joe or whoever he or she is has decided to work with you because you've shown value, and it's repeat business. With repeat business from them, hopefully they introduce you to your friends, right? Their peers. They're at networking seminars, they live in Home Depot, they talk to contractors, they have partners, financial or other partners that are flipping with them, and now you have Joe who introduces you to Sally, and now you have 2 investors. So instead of 5 or 6 deals a year, you're getting 10, that all you have to do is be valuable. Find the deals for them, whatever they need help with, guide them through it, and now you have 10 deals a year. I know I'd like that, and that's why working with investors is pretty cool. We're going to talk about agents flipping properties too. One good reason to work with investors, even if that's not your goal, is sourcing contractors, vendors, plumbers, electricians, you name it, structural engineers. It's easier to go off a referral, right? We all agree? It's much easier to work with someone that someone else has vouched for or work with, or you know their quality, you know they showed up, you know they delivered. Well, how do you meet these contractors? I'll cover that on a couple slides forward, but contractors can make or break your flip. I heard a and that's absolutely right. So one of the best ways to source contractors is through working with your investors. You can see kind of work they've done. You can hear all the complaints, for better or for worse, if they did a good job, if they didn't show up, if the investor had to chase them down. But you're meeting the contractors there. And if Joe's contractor did a good job, take his number. So now when you need, you know that this guy can deliver and he's done good quality work and he's not going to disappear because he didn't disappear for Joe, and he's more accountable because if he does a bad job for you, guess what? You're going to tell Joe, stop using him. So they're more accountable. So working with investors can help you build your network of finding the right contractors, because that's really one of the hard parts. So why should we as agents flip homes? I start with this. Investors call us every single day, or we go on these listing appointments or CMAs because they pick our brain. How many of you, show of hands, have got a call? Hey, I'm buying this property. What do you think I could sell it for? I know I get those all the time. And that's why. So if we're kind of the brains behind the operation, right, we're the ones telling them what they could sell it for, which determines if they buy it or not, and also determines how extensive of a rehab they do. That means we're pretty valuable, and we know a lot if they're relying on us to make a decision of investing on this property. So if we're the brains, we should use that to benefit ourselves. I like the fact that you get a commission. If it's on the market, if you're buying something on the MLS through Hubzu or one of these foreclosure sites, you're getting a commission to buy this investment property. So that can help with your carrying cost. That can help you fund some of the repairs, and it's just money in the bank. So that's one other great reason why it's great for us as agents to take advantage and get into flipping properties. I think it's a learning curve for a lot of people, and I know some people are a little nervous that I don't know construction, I've never managed a contractor, but it will help you learn. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all here because we took a leap of faith to become business owners and run our own real estate business. This is no different. It's in the same realm, right? It's just a little left lane or right lane off the main road that we're on as being agents. But you can learn this. And once you learn it, you become more valuable as an agent. We're not going to become general contractors or project managers, and we're not going to derail our plans of selling 50, 100, whatever amount of homes a year. But it makes you more valuable when you understand a little bit of construction, when you can walk into a house and see an issue and realize it's not a big deal, or your clients get nervous. And it's not our job to say, don't worry about it, but it's our job to say, there are some remedies to this. Let's get you some qualified people. It's not a big deal. And let the qualified people tell them what the remedy is. But if you don't know, you haven't gone through that experience, you can walk in and see a crack, and the buyer says, oh my gosh, look at this crack. And you're just deer in headlights because you don't know if it's good or bad. But through doing some renovation projects, you'll learn good cracks, bad cracks, because you're going to deal with them while doing it. Owning a property and doing the renovation projects, I can tell you, the neighbors come up to you. Oh, you bought this. What'd you pay for it? Oh, I'm looking to sell mine. You're going to be there. You're going to be hands-on. You're going to meet neighbors. It's going to help your real estate business, right? So it's another avenue to generate leads. There's a lot of indirect positives and indirect business that you get from not just owning the house, but flipping it. Neighbors will come to you and, hey, can I use your contractor? Or it's even better, you show up and you see your contractor at the neighbor's house, right? So you can get more business from it. You'll get business from the buyers that drive by and see your sign when you're selling it. So there's your sign, you're meeting the neighbors. It's helping you get more exposure for yourself. So hopefully you make profit at the end if you manage it properly, but managing a flip is not something to worry about if you follow not just these steps, but just all the research that's out there and what to do. And I'll cover at the end some of the things to watch out for. But there's a lot of positives for realtors to get involved with flipping and investing into these rehabs. Let's make some money. What's needed to flip a house? I get this question all the time. Sourcing the property, which we covered, but sourcing the property is not that hard. You just have to do your diligence. There's the MLS, there's foreclosure websites, there's wholesalers, there's sheriff sales, there's bank sites that sometimes have their own listings there. But you guys are going into homes every day, whether you're showing buyers, whether you're previewing, and it could be an estate sale, it could be a short sale, it could be a foreclosure that just got listed. There's a couple of REO brokers in here. There's enough on the market that you can source them. Part of the equation after you source them is knowing the ARV. And the ARV is after repair value. So you're looking at it today as a shell, or you're looking at it today as a bad apple, and you need to turn it into a shiny, nice new apple. Figuring out the ARV is critical. That's what investors call us for. That's going to make or break whether it's a good deal or not. We all go into these estate sales or these homes that are outdated or these homes that have been sitting on the market for a while, priced right. But what makes it a flip project or a good potential versus what not is what the ARV is, the after repair value. If there's a big enough margin between the purchase price or the list price and the after repair value, that means it's a good flip. So learning that is critical, and the way to do that is very simple. Value the home as if it had a new kitchen, had a new bath, move-in ready, and an easy way to do it is look at the high-end comps for the area. So if you're in Edison and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Clara Barton, look at the high-end comps in Clara Barton for a 3-bed, 2-bath, and you're probably going to find a couple renovated homes, and you comp it out that way. So once you can figure out the ARV, you can say, hey, this could really sell for $450 and it's listed for $300. There's some room to make some money there, and there's some flip potential. So the ARV is critical to learn, and I think that's one of the parts you guys have to learn and focus on, because once you can master the ARV, that will be the difference of you making a lot of money or a little bit of money. And the more accurate you can be on your ARV, the better flip it will become. Here's why. You'll know where to draw the line. Things will come up, unforeseen. You open up that wall and you're like, why'd I open up this wall? You go to redo the kitchen and you pull out the cabinets and appliances and it's knob and tube wiring and you're like, oh my gosh, now I got to budget in for an electrician. But if you know the ARV, you'll say, okay, I have to budget in for the electrician, but I'll back out some bells and whistles, no under cabinet lighting, no pot filler, because I have to now factor in this new electrical issue that came up. And you'll keep your margin. But if you're not sure of the ARV, or it's kind of wishy-washy, you'll say, wow, I got to deal with this electric, and I'll still do the pot filler and the under cabinet lighting and all the bells and whistles, and now your margin has just shrunk and decreased. Then at the end, you're like, oh my gosh, I did all this work and didn't make what I thought. It's because you didn't have a solid ARV, because had you remembered that you can only sell it for this number, you would have figured out where to stop with the renovations. Discipline. I have an agent in my office that's doing his first flip and asked me to come just kind of walk through it with him. And I'm like, this is a passion project. It's like over the top. I mean, everything that he would want in his home is in this flip. And it's great because it's probably going to fly off the market, but I don't know how much money he's going to make, right? Because he turned it into a passion project. And that's hard for your first time because you want to make it perfect and you're getting into the design and you're at Home Depot and everything looks good and shiny and you want the bells and whistles and you could see yourself living there, right? So you get into this mindset that I'm going to make it perfect because if I were living here, I'd want this. You can't do that. You have to be very disciplined. I underlined the word, well, I highlighted the word be cost effective. I don't say cheap, but cost effective because you're in it to make money. So don't cut corners, but realize you can sell the house without the pot filler. You could sell the house without the under cabinet lighting. So keep that in mind because you can't make it a passion project because you'll go overboard and your margins, again, will shrink. Last question that everyone asks is, do I need $1 million? No, you don't need $1 million. Financing a flip, which residential home funding will get into some of the finance options. Of course, cash is always king, right? No contingencies, quick close. Everyone likes it. The money's there. No underwriting, no red tape. Cash is king. But not everyone flips homes in cash. Not everyone has the means. And sometimes it's too risky to put all your eggs in that one basket. So hard money is probably equally as popular with flipping. And for those of you that don't know, hard money is private financing through non-QM products. Is that right, Rick? Correct. Non-QM products. Typically, they're high interest and they're very short term, a year to 18 months, maybe 2 years if you're lucky. And at that 2-year mark, 18-month mark, year mark, you need to be out of it. Whether you refinance, you pay a lot of fees for an extension. It's built and designed for you to buy the house, renovate it, and get out of it. Most of these lenders won't let you do it in your personal name. Most of these lenders want to see some experience, and you can never live in the home. If you're buying this for yourself, you cannot live in the home. Rick, that's a mortgage question. Qualified mortgage. Just, I didn't want to get that wrong, but it's qualified mortgage. But hard money is very popular. That's how a lot of investors are flipping deals because you can do more with hard money. If you have, let's use easy numbers, $100,000 and you can do one deal with that. If you spread that out with hard money, you can do 2, maybe 3 deals because you're only putting 10 to 20% down, which allows you to buy 3 properties and you wind up making more than using the $100,000 to just do the one. What a lot of people don't know is there are some other financing options that are qualified mortgages like an FHA 203K, and the one that everyone gets surprised about and they say, well, what's that? Is the home style loan. I'm not going to get too much into it, but Rick Riddle and Residential will. I will say this for the FHA 203K, you obviously have to live there, but I have agents that I know that buy, and I have a client that buys properties with the 203K, moves in, lives through the renovation. Obviously, they're lighter renovations, and then waits 2 years to avoid capital gains. He waits 2, but you're right. It could be 1. We'll verify that, and gets out of them. You can do that with the 203K, but you have to occupy the property. So there's other options, and I think the home style you don't. But again, we'll leave that to residential. Then I've seen a bunch of hybrids. I've seen people partner. Someone funds the deal. Someone does all the work. Someone sources the deal. Someone manages the contractors. I've seen people take conventional loans and use their cash to do the renovations. There's a lot of creative ways that if you want to get it done, you'll figure out how to get it done. I've seen people borrow against their 401ks to take the money and renovate a project and make some money back and put the money back in. But there are ways that you can come up with the money if you're looking to do a fix and flip. So sourcing the property is a challenge. Another challenge that a lot of agents mention are winning the bids. They're so tough. It's competitive. I think that's across the board, though, right? Not just these distressed properties. But fix and flips can be a little tricky. Some of these REO brokers are very particular of what they're looking for and how the packages need to be delivered. And frankly, there's a lot of agents that just don't dot I's, cross T's. And when they see that, it gets under their skin. So winning bids for potential fix and flips, if they're foreclosures, short sales, et cetera, try to do as much diligence up front. If you need to do 5 inspections and get 6 contractors in after the bid, you're going to lose that bid. And you're not going to meet the deadlines, and you're going to get surprised. It's not going to work out. Try to do as much diligence up front. And one way to do that is visit the property with your contractor. And don't take that he's not available or she's not available to come out with you, because they're doing a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 renovation. I don't care if it's $30,000. They need to make the time to help you figure out if this is the right deal with the cost structure involved and what it's going to take. So do your diligence up front. Present a complete offer package. Don't not include proof of funds. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Have everything together. I once had an REO broker give me a hard time because I had 2 different LLCs and the money was in one LLC, but I'm buying it under a second just to kind of balance things out and not have too much under one. And I gave him the operating agreements that I owned both, and he said no, that I had to open a new account for the new LLC and have the money in there because that was the only way it would get accepted. And I learned. It took me a couple of days. I was in jeopardy of losing the property because I had to go to the bank, create a bank account, transfer the money. It was a nightmare. But then I learned, get everything done up front so you have a complete offer package. Do the inspections up front if you can. A lot of investors, and hopefully we all get to this point, where you're relying on your contractor. A lot of investors don't do home inspections, or they'll just do a structural tank sweep, et cetera. But a lot of them just rely on their contractors. The contractor should have a good eye of what's wrong because they're going to fix it. And they know the fixes. So if that's the case, bring your contractor. If you're doing an inspection, bring the inspector in up front. Try to get that done because a lot of these bank loans, we've all sold them. We know that they're one-sided contracts where you're not making any changes or they're void. So if you need more time, if you need multiple inspections, if you're a lender, if you're using a hard money lender, if they have certain things that they require, try to get that done up front. And sometimes you have to reverse engineer bids. Now this is going to be some math, guys, so follow me on this. Try to listen rather than looking at the screen. But it's hard sometimes to get an investor to come to a number because everyone wants a deal, right? Whether they're an investor or a regular buyer, they want a deal. It's listed for this price, and that's what they want to pay. Or below. It's hard to sometimes get people to go above. Wait a minute, I'm giving them what they want. Wait a minute, the bank only is asking this. Why do I have to go above? And sometimes they're just going to be stubborn and not want to listen. And you can show them the comps, but they don't care. Or the last deal they bought was this price, and now they want to stick to that price, and they're overpaying if they pay a penny more. So sometimes the way to get them to a deal, and sometimes the way for you to get a deal done, is to reverse engineer it. So this is what I mean by that. And these are easy numbers. If you find a property that's listed at 100 and you think it's worth 250 if it were done, whatever's wrong with it, whether it's structural, it had some fire damage, but you find this deal's listed for 100 and you think it's worth 250 when it's done, and your client wants to offer 90 or 80 or 95 because he wants a deal, and you can't get him above the 90 mark, what do? This is what I mean by reverse engineer. Find out what his construction costs are. And this is why it's always good to have the investor or yourself bring the contractor with you when you see it, because you'll know exactly what it's going to take to get the property up to par. Find out what his construction cost. So in this example, the construction cost is $50,000. So you know it's listed for 100. It's going to cost them 50 to fix the house. With some carrying cost, commissions on the way out, etc., that's another $30,000 of expense. So now you take the $250 that it's worth, because we figured that out. We're good agents. We know the comps. We live on the hot sheet. And you say, okay, it's $250 on the way out. That's what we can make. That's what it can sell for. Take out the $50,000. That brings you down to $200. Take out the $30,000. That leaves you with $170. And the $30,000, again, is carrying cost, commissions on your way out, closing costs. So from the $170, that would be kind of your net once expenses are paid. If he bought it for $110, because it's multiple bids. The listing agent told you there's multiple offers. We have 15 offers. You better be cash. And you're like, my guy wants to come in at 90. There's no way. Now you can say, look, Joe, Sally, whoever the investor is, what if you bought this for 110? We know you could sell it for 250. It's 50,000 of renovation, 30,000 closing costs on your way out. At paying 110, you're making potentially $60,000. Here's the question I love to ask. Do you have a problem making $60,000? And typically, they see this. They see it's listed for 100 and they could buy it for 90 and sell it for 250, and they see 80,000. But if you can reverse engineer it and show them that you're still making $60,000, do you have a problem with making $60,000? Sometimes that gets them in the right perspective, that I'm still making money on it. It's still a deal. But they see the big number of, it's 100, if I can get a deal and get it for 90, wow, I'll make 80. But if they have a problem with making 60, if they say, yes, I have a problem with that, then you have to have another conversation, which is, your expectations are through the roof, and I don't think I can meet it. Because frankly, if these deals were $180,000 and $90,000 profit sitting on the shelves, I'd be buying them, right? But that's the way to reverse engineer it. Sometimes it's hard to get them from 90 to 100 by just saying, well, you could sell it for 250 or the comps are this, because they just look at, I can make more money if I buy it for 90. But when you give them the option of, do you have a problem making 60 versus nothing? A piece of the pie is better than none. That's how I've successfully got clients to come to my number, and that's the secret sauce to winning bids. It's the right number. And sometimes it is first come, first serve. You get it to the bank first, they're going to accept it, and you're done. But a lot of times these homes get listed, everyone runs, and it just becomes the right bid. And it's so hard with an investor that's been doing this. And the last property he bought was 80, so now you're telling him to go 100, and he's like, no way. To get him to 110, this is probably the best shot of doing it. So if you could show him that he's still making money at 110, he'll go 110. You'll win the bid. So I love this because this is the glamorized part you see on TV, right? Listed for 200, sells for 389. Throw some numbers at me, guys. What do you think the investor made on this? This is the interactive part. Throw some numbers back at me. 80 grand, 50, 100, 75. Good numbers. It's going to be some math, but follow me with this. Here's the real breakdown. The blue side is if it were a cash transaction. The red column is if it were finance. And you guys can give your business cards to Carl, and we'll send you this whole presentation with all the slides. But if it were a cash deal, bought it for 200, which is the house on the left, or to your left, and you sell it for 389. If it were a cash deal, the closing costs between cash and finance are pretty much the same, with the exception of, on the red column, you have lender fees. So it might be 2 points, might be 2.5 points. If you're new, it might be 3 points. With a lot of hard money, they have you pay for their attorneys to review the contracts. And this is aside from your attorney that's doing a real estate transaction. But the costs are kind of the same except for the lender fees associated with hard money. On the way out, you're paying commission, you're paying closing costs, you have your real estate transfer tax, you're paying your attorney, etc. And I average 6 months to be in and out of a flip, so you're paying the property taxes for 6 months. Most investors don't pay the quarterly taxes when they get that bill. They wait for it to close and take it out at closing. So all in, if you were cash, you're making 83. With this example, if you financed it with hard money, you're making 60, give or take. A piece of the pie is better than none, right? And if you're cash, great, you make a little bit more, but your cash is all tied up into that one deal, where if you're financing it, you can do 2 deals. So what do you want to make, 83 or 120, right? If you can leverage the cash and do 2 deals with hard money. So that's the value of doing hard money. You can do more. But if you're an agent and you're a rock star and you're busy, and this is kind of just our supplementary income because we don't have pensions, we don't have 401ks, maybe the 1 deal a year works, great, do it in cash. Because don't take this on if it's going to derail your real estate business, because that's your primary bread and butter. But that's the breakdown of the numbers. So kind of summing it all up like a roadmap or guide. First, create the entity.
a lot of agents flip, and a lot of investors flip in an LLC because it limits the liability that they have to just what that LLC owns. So it's not a personal lawsuit if something goes wrong. If you're going to flip, I know a lot of people wait till the offer gets accepted to create the LLC. Then your proof of funds don't match, unless it's in your personal name. It can get really hectic, and in that day or two, someone else can beat you out. So I like to say, do all the stuff up front that you can. Get ahead of it, have your structure, figure out how you're owning the property, get it done. Sourcing the property and securing proof of funds is next. If you have cash, great. Make sure it's in a bank account that's within 30 days that you can show, or if you're using hard money, get that letter, right? Think about the buyer that calls you and wants to see 10 homes and isn't approved. You need to be approved if you want to source these REOs or wholesale deals, because the minute they get accepted, you got to move forward. And it's not the time to backtrack and go talk to a lender on a Saturday to try to get an approval letter. So figure out how you're paying and financing the property. Contractors. That's so important. They're going to make or break your deal. They'll give you sleepless nights, or they'll have you kick your feet up because everything's going smooth. That's, to me, probably the hardest part of flipping a property, is finding the right contractor. But that's why it's great to work with investors, because you can vet contractors through them, right? If a contractor fails, you don't ever call that guy. But if your investors have a bunch of good contractors, you have a list of people you can call. But finding the contractor is key, because you go in, how do you know what it's going to cost you? You need that contractor. Or you shouldn't make an offer on the house if you don't know what the cost is going to be. So once you have the contractor, then you can worry about sourcing the property. Because if you source the property today, let's say this were a house and it was for sale where we're sitting today, if you don't know the true cost and you go under contract, and then later on you find out that it's a lot more, that's not good. Because now you're backing out, you've wasted money on inspections, appraisals, attorneys, potentially. So figuring out the contractor first and then sourcing the properties is key. Do the deal analysis. Once you've found the property and you know the bid, figure out how much you stand to make. It's all numbers, right? You know the ARV because you are all Rockstar agents. You know what it costs to fix. Now you got to figure out your finance cost, your holding cost, etc., and do the deal analysis, and you should be pretty spot on to what you should make, or you leave a contingency budget for the unknown. But make sure on paper you're going to make money up front. Make the offer. Self-explanatory. Get the deal done. Do your diligence. Do your diligence. Figure everything out up front if you can. The more you figure out up front, the less headache you have on the back end. You're not going to have a deal die. Now this broker blacklist you because you went under contract and you promised to buy it, and then you said, you know what, I didn't realize the floors were slow. So do your diligence up front. And of course, this is one of the things you can do that a lot of people don't. And even with investors, if you can help guide them, this is where you can show value. Try to get ahead of as much as you can. Don't wait to close to then try to start picking colors and what you're going to do with the siding and your kitchen layout. Don't wait to close and now you're 30 days behind because you got to figure everything out and you're getting 50 quotes. Do that while you're under contract. Get all your bids. Figure out your colors. You should make it turnkey that the day you close, you go put in your permits. You have your design done. You know exactly which walls are going to be taken out. You have the architect ready, a phone call away to come, pay for it, give you an idea. Can you take this wall out? You have your roofer. You picked out your colors. You know the siding color. You know what your floors are going to be. Design the house before you close. Because here's why. The day of the closing, you can put in your permits and start working. But if you don't have all your bids in and you don't have your contractors lined up and you're still figuring out if you're going to this store or that store to buy material, you'll close and you'll be sitting, waiting, and the house will be sitting there for 30 to 45 days for you to figure it out, then put in your permits and wait for the permits to be issued before you can start. So one important tip is figure out the design before you close. That's going to save you a lot of time. So close, put in your permits, manage the contractors and inspections. That's not fun, but that's your job. Manage the contractors, make sure they're showing up. Manage the inspections. You want to be there sometimes because the contractors go out to lunch, which I literally had happen. And the inspector shows up in that half an hour window, and now no one's there. You get this orange notice that says you failed because no one was there to open the door, and you have to wait 2 weeks for an inspection. That's not fun. So manage it. You want to be involved. Close permits. Once you get all that work done and you're showing up to the inspections, of course, list the project for sale once it's all done. I don't like rushing. I don't think it's great for investors to put stuff on the market before it's done. Buyers typically need to see a finished product. If they had an eye for it, they'd be doing the 2 or 3K and doing it themselves. It's not new construction where people buy off plans for rehabs. Rehabs, you pretty much need the finished product because you don't know what the finished product is. It's not a Toll Brothers where there's the model home and you know what yours is going to look like. So I say wait till it's done. List it for sale, close, and then enjoy your profits or repeat. So very simple. It's not rocket science. We're helping investors do this all day long. That's really pretty much the roadmap for you guys to do it yourselves. So here's a couple things to focus on that's really important in flipping. It's the finance and the budget. A lot of people don't factor the unknowns. A lot of people don't factor that it might not be 6 months because things can go wrong. Inspectors go on vacation. Townships have shortages. Contractors have issues. Health issues arise. Figure out your financing. Make sure you're not risking being homeless to do a flip. Right? Make sure you have the budget and the wherewithal to see it through. I've seen flips where people have run out of money and they put a mill in the market half done, and it's not pretty because they're not making money, they're losing money. Sourcing a contractor. I know this is redundant. I probably brought it up 3 times, but that's going to make or break your flip. We've all heard nightmare stories. That's why most people don't do 2 or 3 Ks because they don't want to get involved with managing contractors. That is so important. That's the make or break. If I could literally stress the one hardest part, the biggest hurdle is the finding the right contractor that you can trust and will show up. Focus on areas you know. I don't know how many of you get these emails from these wholesalers or people flipping properties and they're in different parts of the state. Focus on where you know. Because if you don't know it, it's going to be hard for you to gauge the ARV. If it's an hour from your house, do you really want your asset empty an hour away and you can't really babysit it? Focus on where you know because it'll be easier for you to sell. You want more clients there. You're getting those sign calls. Do you want to run up to Sparta to go show the house once? But if it's in your backyard, it's going to be a lot easier. You would be more than willing to get up at 9 a.m. on a Sunday to go show it. Focus on where you know first. As you grow, great. If you have the bandwidth and you have the tolerance and the risk, you're willing to take the risk and go out further, great. I've heard of investors that flip out of state. I don't know how. I like to keep it a little more local because I can control it more and there's less risk to me. But sourcing the properties, try to focus on where you know. Structure the entity and get it ready. I've seen investors, great, I want it, I got the money, make the offer today. Great, get me your LLC docs, give me the proof of funds. It takes them 3 or 4 days and we've lost the property. It will hurt when you find that grand slam home run deal and you're now backtracking and creating an LLC, whether you're doing it yourself or going through LegalZoom or having an attorney do it, and getting those proof of funds into the account or out of your investment account or whatever it is, and then you lose the deal because you just didn't have paperwork done. Get ahead. Get that stuff done. After the offer is accepted, of course, make all your decisions. Try to figure out and get ahead of the design. I've seen people close and then they're like, okay, I'm starting it in 30 days because I got to figure it out. Well, you had the 30 days while you were under contract to figure it out. So try to get ahead of it. Manage the project like it was your last penny. If you don't show up, do you expect your contractors to show up? I've learned this now. Your best contractor can get busy. They get too big too fast sometimes. And if you're not showing up and you're not paying attention, your eyes are not on the ball, why do they have an interest to keep their eye on the ball? They'll take on another project and send one guy there, and next thing you know, your 3-month project becomes 6 months. But it's your job to micromanage it. Keep your eye on the ball. Act like it's your last dollar. On the exit, as realtors, if you guys decide to get involved, disclose, right? That's our job. disclose as much as you can. There's nothing wrong with us flipping properties. We're allowed to, but disclose everything. If you know something's wrong, fix it or disclose it. I tend to stress to investors, which they don't like to do because they're not there, get all the warranty stuff. You have brand new appliances, where's the paperwork, right? Give the buyer the receipt. Give as many warranties as you can. Personally, a new thing that I started doing with flips is at the end, I get a American Home Shield warranty. I just want peace of mind. I don't want to call later that there's a plumbing stoppage. I never lived there. How would I know, right? And if any of you here have flipped, or you represented an investor, you get questions like the investors live there. And the agents know that the house is vacant. The agents know it's a flip, but they're asking you 50 million questions as if you would know. So I figured, give them a warranty. I don't want to call after closing that this went wrong and that went wrong. Did I know about it? Here's a warranty. Call American Home Shield. They'll fix it for you. But fix as much as you can, disclose as much as you can, and protect yourselves by giving warranties. Vendors, whoever's doing your roof, whoever's doing your electric panel, get a warranty from them. And that's a big area where people fall short. They pay these guys to do it. They don't get a receipt. They don't find out if it's a transferable warranty. And now the buyer or the attorney for the buyer is asking for all this stuff, and you're like, oh, I can't find this guy. Get that stuff up front. When it's all done, repeat. Reinvest. Like I mentioned before, we don't have 401ks. We don't have pensions. Why not take advantage of the fact that we're sort of kind of the brains behind these operations, because they rely on us to source the properties and to figure out what they're worth. The middle part's the easy part once you find a contractor, which is managing it. But repeat, do it again. So here's my flipping cheat sheet of kind of the pitfalls, kind of telling you guys where you can stumble on roadblocks and what to kind of get ahead of. And it starts with this, again, the budget. Most people don't factor in the 8 to 10 months it takes to get a project done sometimes. I have a former client who bought a home in 2016, and I see that it's still on the market. Wouldn't happen if I was still representing him, but I've seen worst case scenarios, and that's a worst case scenario. Because now your carrying costs are through the roof. He actually has hard money on it. I know it for a fact. I don't know how he's keeping it afloat. But I've seen the worst case scenario. So you've got to figure out your financing and your budget. Some people think they're in and out in 6 months. You could have a dead deal on the buy side when you're selling it, and another dead deal, and next thing you know, you're 8 months in, right? So have a cushion so you're not stressed out that, oh my gosh, it's tapping into my personal living because I'm holding this property a little longer. Be prepared to make a lot of decisions. People don't realize that, but renovating a house is a lot of decision making. Every molding, every piece of trim, every door style, every window pane. Should I change this one? Should I leave this one? Cabinet design, granite, hardware, light fixtures. Should I do this panel? What do I do with the basement? What colors? What's more neutral? There's a lot of decisions. That's why it's great to get ahead of it, because it'll spread out you having to make these decisions in a longer period of time versus you close and now you have 5 days to figure out what you're doing with this, that, and the other. So be prepared for the decision making. Most townships wake up daily with the intent to give us a hard time. Literally, like you guys have seen CO inspectors. Building inspectors are another level. It's extreme sometimes. So they're not there to be your friends and come in and high five you, because they see you bought it for $200 and now your sign is there, and they Google it and it's on the market for $389 and they think you're making $200 grand in a swoop. But they don't know all that it's taken in that fact that you're not making that kind of money. And frankly, no one's in their way. No one's stopping them from doing it. But they take it out on you and they make you do things and jump through hoops that you shouldn't have to if you're a normal homeowner. So just be prepared for that. Don't cut corners with craftsmanship. Make it quality. It'll make your life a lot easier. Tell investors, if you're working with investors, if you cut corners here, it's going to blow up at the home inspection. And you're going to lose a deal or two, and you're going to cost yourself money because of the time. So don't cut corners. Give them the best product. Act as if you were going to live there without making it a passion project, right? But don't cut corners. Try to give them a quality product. You have one shot to make a first impression. Try not to rush it, and investors are notorious for this. Put it on the market, put it on the market, put it on the market. You have no kitchen in. I'll give you the layout, I'll give you the dimensions, I'll give you this, or here's this rendering of what it's going to look like. Again, if the buyers wanted to buy that way, they would do a 2 or 3K themselves and save the money and have the equity. It's one shot you have to make a first impression. I tell investors, if you want to max out the comps and get the highest possible sale, make it amazing. Give them a wow. They're not going to be wowed when they get there and you got a hole where the dishwasher is supposed to be, a hole where the stove is. There's no wow factor there, right? We all can agree? So get it on the market when it's ready. Have a cushion for your budget. I see people get in trouble, and again, it's very similar to the first bullet, but it can go left, things can go south very quickly, unforeseen things, just be prepared. It could be your Amex that you have, or a credit card, or someone's in the wings and you could pull money out of this investment, but be prepared for that. Bidroom is your friend at Home Depot. Anyone never heard of the Bidroom? Sue, Bidroom? So here's how the Bidroom works. You can go into Home Depot and spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and go pay at the register. The Bidroom is going to the pro desk, it's the professional's desk. And as long as you're spending over $1,000, they'll send it to Georgia, which is the headquarters for Home Depot, and they will put it in for a discount because you're buying in bulk. I've gotten $20 off, I've gotten $300 off, I've gotten $100 off. It costs you nothing, but if you decide to flip, the Bidroom is your friend because you will get a discount, but it has to be over $1,000. Also, sometimes you have to go to outside vendors. You have to go to the lumber liquidators of the world to get a better deal or a better product, or frankly, the time frames with the Lowe's and Home Depots take forever. But find the vendors. I just had a case on my personal house doing a renovation, and I ordered doors from Home Depot that kept getting delayed. I got 2 emails that your order is now being delivered 2 weeks later. And then after the second time, I asked my contractor, I went to a lumber place here in Island, I got the doors in 4 days, same price, but I got all solid doors versus a mixed match of solid versus hollow. And I learned, wow, you can sometimes get a better deal at vendors. Again, it could be flooring companies, it could be lumber yards, but shop around because everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. Your contractors, everything except the city. When you're paying for permits, but your contractors, your engineers, your inspectors, everything's negotiable. You know, I have some inspectors that give contractors and the guys that renovate properties a better deal because they're coming in, they don't need a full report, they just need an overview. Everything's negotiable, keep that in mind. Have fun while doing it. How many of us love being a realtor? Love that aspect. This is kind of the same. A lot of people got into real estate because they're passionate about homes, or they love making a deal, and they love growing things and seeing deals happen. This is kind of the same. Have fun while doing it. The last thing I'll leave you guys with is very important. Don't steal deals from your clients. Very, very important. You have investors, if they feel like they're competing with you, they will not work with you. You can lose your license for going in on that listing appointment and the seller says, I just want 200 grand, and you know it's worth 300, and you say, okay, I can take that listing. By the way, I'll make life easy. We don't even have to show it, I'll buy it. You can use your license for that.
I've seen it happen.
Excuse me?
I've seen realtors lose their license for doing that.
Exactly. So you have a fiduciary. Remember, you're always wearing your realtor hat first, period. And like I said before, this should not derail your realtor business. This is another avenue to make some money, but focus on your realtor business because it comes in waves. Flipping. We're in a good market where there's a lot of these distressed properties, but if you burn your bridges and you compete against all your clients and you have no clients and you stop selling real estate, when the market takes a turn and there's not that much inventory, you have to start all over again building your real estate business. So don't steal deals from your clients. If you go out and show a home to Joe and you're like, this is a perfect flip, and Joe wants to make an offer, let Joe make the offer. If something hits the hot sheet and you're like, wow, this is great, I'm not going to send it to my investor because I want to buy it, look at it this way. You sell it to your investor, you're still making money. You're going to sell it to him. He's going to list it back with you. You're going to make money. Find yourself another deal. Because the minute you don't show it to your investor and you don't send it to him, he's still or she's still going to see it because it's on all these websites that they love to browse. And when they realize, wait a minute, Olivier or whoever's not sending me this stuff, I have to find this stuff myself. Are you valuable to them? And now you just lost a client. So don't steal deals from your clients. But that's my presentation on fixing and flipping. I'm passionate about it. It's a good revenue source. It's also not that hard if you follow these principles. Again, give us your business card, Carl's in the back, and we'll send you the presentation and any questions. We'll do a Q&A at the end, but I want to talk about something I want to pass this on to Rick Riddle from Residential Home Funding to talk about financing flips, because it is a lot. It is hard to put all this cash in so people don't have it, and frankly, it could be too risky. But there is a world of opportunity to finance it, and I think nowadays more deals are getting financed than bought in cash. So Rick is going to go over the financing options, and then we'll have a big Q&A on everything at the end.
I'm going to turn it over to Rick and Dominic. Thanks, guys.
Hello, everyone. So we'll be talking about financing for the next 3.5 hours. So, you know what? It's unbelievable because financing every day, as a real estate agent or real estate professional, it's an exciting time to be in real estate. For the main purpose is every day more and more financing solutions are coming out for all different types of buyers, right? There's no money down options, there's stated income options for buyers. This is just another segment that specifically goes towards investors. But I think it's important to note that that's all good for real estate, right? You hear a lot of negative news about rising interest rates. Believe it or not, that's good for real estate as well. Because one, it gets buyers off the fence, and two, that's what creates other investors to come in to the marketplace. So I want to kind of go over a couple different types of programs. You know, the first thing is we talked about fix and flip loans. Dominic Privetti is my partner on construction loan financing, so he knows a little bit more about the fix and flips than I do. But it basically works like this, and maybe you'll get into the details of the training. But it's available from 1 to 4 units. You can actually go. There's a different program, but you can actually go up to 20 units. And it's simple as they take the acquisition price and the renovation price. And the acquisition price, if you're an experienced flipper, you can put as little as 10% down on the purchase price and 100% of the renovation, as long as it ends up at a 75% loan to value. If you're not as experienced, you'd have to put 20% down. Dominic, maybe you want to touch a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So, what Rick has said is right on, spot on. And I thought Olivier's presentation, a lot of great material in there, all right on. So for an experienced investor, the pricing and the loan to value in flip lending is very much related to the investor's experience. So if someone's flipping a house for the first time, no problem. We can help them fund the flip. But they're going to need to put probably, as Rick said, 20% down on that. We could still fund the entire renovation budget. But you're going to find as you get to your second and third flip, the terms get better. Higher loan to value, you could probably put 10% down on the purchase, finance the whole renovation budget. The interest rate will be a little less. And so, and just one of the points that Rick made about determining that, as Olivier said, after repair value, that's critical to the whole deal. First of all, the lender who's doing a flip loan wants the investor to make a profit. And because they wanted to see a profitable deal get done. They want to fund a profitable deal. They don't want a situation where you get into a flip and you miscalculated the budget or the value of the completed project, and now we've got a problem. You bought a house, you started renovating it, you need to sell it for $300, and the value's not there. So what's going to happen is you're going to buy the property. Before the appraiser comes out, you're going to have your renovation budget done. And you're going to need to give that to, if you're financing the project, you're going to need to give that to the appraiser. So the appraiser's not even going to come out and look at the house without looking at this, the sales contract for purchase price, and they're going to see your repair budget. So, simple spreadsheet of, I'm spending $40,000 and renovating. Here's how I'm spending it. I'm putting in the kitchen. I'm putting in the bathrooms, cabinets, appliances, HVAC. Now the appraiser comes out and they meet you at the house, and they're going to come up with two numbers, an as-is number. So you're paying, $200 for the house. They're going to come up with an as-is number in its current state, and they're going to come up with the after repair value, and they're going to come up with that by looking at your budget and saying, okay, I see this investor's going to put this money into this house. They're adding a bedroom. They're putting in new kitchens and bathrooms, and they'll come up with an after repair value. That after repair value is going to set the maximum loan amount. So when we work with first-time investors, and there's a lot of them today, we're helping them through that budget preparation process. Sometimes they don't even have contractors. And, I think Olivier's comments on finding good contractors is critical. Many times they're contractors themselves. That's great. I have contractors who say to me, Dominic, I don't do spreadsheets. So we help them put the budget together, get it submitted to the underwriting team and the appraisal team. So I think I answered your question on that.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the terms of the?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
The question on that interest rate, how you figure out the interest rate 9 to 12%? Can be lower, 7%, or can be higher, 14%? Do you have a fixed interest rate?
there are lots of flip lenders. I work with the same 4 pretty much every day, and I pick the lender I'm putting with a particular investor on a product based on a few factors. The experience of the investor. If it's someone brand new, there's a few lenders I wouldn't go to for that. If it's a certain price range, there are certain lenders who have minimum loan amounts. So location, price range, investor, different lender. Every day, including today actually already, I have a client say to me, hey, I got an email. I spoke to a gentleman this morning. He said, I got an email and I spoke to this company and you mentioned points, Dominic, and this person didn't mention anything about points. I said, well, it's very different not mentioning the points and not charging the points. So I'm just telling you right up front, you should expect to pay some points on a hard money or what I would call soft hard money loan. I don't know lenders who don't charge them. So I said, I'm not suggesting to you that they do charge them, but you should ask the question. So point is, I see 7% hard money advertised every single day. I can tell you the companies, I tell my clients, and I have many repeat clients. They'll say, hey, I won't use the name of the lender, but so-and-so, I saw an email, they're doing it for 7% now. I said, try and get it. Try and get it. And if they can, I say, hey, that's a great rate. So I don't think you're going to find flip money, hard money at 7% interest only. But if you can, I would ask you where you found it, and I would try and steer some business that way. Generally speaking, most of the flip loans that I see every day start around 9% as an interest rate. On the high end, I have a client paying 15 with a company now, but on the high end, 12, 13 would be the high end. That's where I come with that range. You could pay more, and if you can find less, I'd say it's a great deal. I thought that slide that Olivier showed with the numbers breakdown was spot on. If you have cash, great. You're going to make an extra. In that scenario, I think it's $20,000. Most of my clients, and some of them are very experienced, they don't have $200,000 cash laying around. So they don't want to borrow the money and pay the points and have the fees. But at the end of the day, they're still going to make, in that scenario, I think it was $60,000. So they can get in and out and know what they're doing and make $60,000 and keep rolling. So whenever my clients complain to me about, Dominic, you're like a partner, I got to pay points, I got the interest rate, I say, well, listen, man, save some of your money, don't borrow it. It's not, but once an investor gets going, what do they want to do? Keep going. So when they get $200,000, you're going in 9 directions with it, and they end up having to borrow some money. So, but I think I answered it's a long answer to a quick question. That budget, you need to prepare that budget in advance. The appraiser coming out. If you're a new investor, first time, I'll give you a sample budget. You can see what other people are creating and what they look like. If you give me a budget, it doesn't look like something that's going to fly, I'll help you through it. We get the appraiser out there, and we get that after repair value. And you know what? And I'll stop on this point, but I have a client who's a good client. She's on her 3rd flip. The property didn't appraise. Appraiser went out there. The after repair value came in too low for her to be able to fund the deal the way she wanted to. She happens to have, her and her husband happen to have $1 million in their 401k. So she's strong borrower, 800 credit scores. She had enough cash in the bank, didn't want to use it all. She said, you know what, appraiser's wrong. I'm going to do the deal anyway. So I lowered the loan amount. She put in another, I think it was $55,000. Was not happy. Mad at me because the property didn't appraise. Mad at the appraiser, mad at the lender. She got the house finished. She called me a month ago. I'm looking for my next deal. I said, wow, you sold the one that's in Rahway. You sold the one in Rahway? I don't want to tell you the address. You sold the one? Oh no, just by putting it on the market. It's going to be sold immediately. You're going to see, I'm going to show you the check. You can give it to that lender who didn't appraise it. I looked last night. Guess what? It's still on the market.
It's not sold. Probably that appraiser was doing her a favor. Probably doing her a favor. And you know what happens when I get a low appraisal? I try and see if there's a way to get that appraisal up. So I look at the comps. And I look at the comps, I'm saying to myself, appraisal is kind of right. You had 3 comps right in the same neighborhood, similar houses. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't see what she saw. But she was the client, she's consistent, she had the money. So the point is, that after fair value could actually help you. Make sure you're doing especially if it's first time, profitable deal.
And a couple things on the question of the rate variable goes based on experience, credit score.
Experience and credit score, yeah. I mean, and honestly, more on the experience than the credit score. You know, if you know, one thing about flip lending, typically these types of loans, Olivier mentioned the word hard money. I lend hard money and I lend what I call soft hard money, which is basically institutional hard money. They're really not credit or debt to income driven, which works, especially for self-employed people like realtors who, you know, you make income and then you write out all your expenses. You may not show a big income. A couple of my flip lenders only want to see your tax returns if it's under $500,000. And the ones that do see the tax returns, it really doesn't matter what you're showing as income. They're looking at the deal. If the deal makes sense, you have your down payment, the after fair value works, your budget makes sense, that's what you're looking at. So you can get a 585 credit score. I just got approved yesterday, 585 credit score. Judgment with the IRS, he's on an installment plan. They took the installment plan as satisfying the judgment. He's still going to have the judgment. He's on an installment plan, and he's got 585 credit score. He's experienced. The deal makes a lot of sense. It's in Randolph. He's buying property, a house for $200. His after value is going to be $650. So we got it approved. So you don't have to have super high credit, and your debts and income aren't going to be a factor in underwriting a flip loan.
And the one thing to make note on the interest rate, it's an interest only, right? So, and you're only borrowing on the money you use. So what I mean by that is, so you buy the house for $100,000, you're putting, or let's say that you're buying a house for $100,000, you put $10,000 down, you're borrowing $90,000. Maybe it's at 9% interest rate, but you're only borrowing on that $90,000. And then as you use the draws, right? So if you're using $30,000 on the first draw, $30,000 on the next draw, you're only paying interest on the money you use. So, for example, a $100,000 loan at 9%, $9,000 divided by 12. 750. He's better than that than I am.
Not really. No, I just did that calculation this morning.
And there's no escrows, right? So because it's usually a short-term thing, so you're not paying a tax or insurance escrows. So it's a pretty simple process. I come from the renovation world, so I think, or the first mortgage residential world, so I hear 9%, but it's short-term money, and it's really not as long a process. And then,
I said this to a client yesterday. He said, well, it's still 9%. 9% for a month. It's the same as 9% for 12 months. I'm like, no, it's not. If you make one $750 payment, that's very different than making 12 $750 payments. It's so, I mean, Olivier's point about time is not your friend. So if you're going to take 18 months for the project, you're going to eat up a lot of your profit. So, and his comment about passion project, you see it all the time, especially with first-time investors. So I try and counsel first-time investors, like, you're not moving into this house, you know, and so don't let it become a passion project. And it shouldn't take you 18 months. Because a lot of times you give an 18-month loan term. And first-time investors say, is that enough time? I don't know, I'll need more time. If you need more than 18 months on most of your flips, you did it wrong, right? You did it wrong. It shouldn't take 18 months because you just ate up all your profit on interest charges. So, and I would just recommend, it's maybe not on the slide, but if it's your first one, don't do like a heavy rehab. You know, heavy rehab meaning you're buying the house for $150 and your budget for repair is $150. And we do them every day, but on the way here, I'm on the phone and I'm trying to help a guy out who bought his first flip. It's in Piscataway. Guess what? He's not done. The house ripped apart. You know what he needs? Another $70,000. So he comes to me because I didn't do the first loan. He did a hard money individual, gave him the loan, and he's out of money. How short are you? He only paid $134 for the house. He put in $80, and he's $70 short. Bad scenario, right? I mean, so it's hard now to go to somebody and borrow money saying, I'm an investor, I started this house, I spent $70, I'm a little off, or I spent $80, I'm a little off, I need $70 more. And he didn't like the interest rate, it was 11.9. So point is, maybe your first one, you try and not do what we call a heavy rehab. So a heavy rehab was a situation where you're spending as much as you're paying for the house on a renovation. Maybe start with something a little more honest. Learn the ropes a little bit, deal with some contracts, build those relationships.
Good. So the other, we're talking about construction from the ground up.
Oh, we do construction, ground up construction every day, all over the country. Just closed a loan Friday in Florida for a client. So we can fund ground up construction. So if they own the land, fine. If they're buying the land, we can finance 50 to 70% of the land cost and pretty much all the construction budget. When I say pretty much, that's on a 70 or 75% loan to cost or loan to value, whatever's less in terms of the total number. All that means is if you buy the land, you can finance about half the land and all the construction in most cases. So that if the construction budget is 400 and you bought the land for 150, you put 75 down, we finance 75 of the land, we finance the entire construction budget. So I'm doing a couple of knockdowns for clients now. They bought single families, knocked them down to the ground, doing ground up construction. Florida's a vacant lot. So we do construction lending all over the country. Can I just take something quick on that? I got a construction scenario I'm working on today in the Smoky Mountains in Galesburg, Tennessee. I didn't know anything about the Smoky Mountains in Galesburg, Tennessee. I just learned yesterday that a couple of years ago, 2015, they had thousands of houses burned down. They had fires. Is that right? I didn't even know about the one yesterday. The gentleman was telling me about it. So he's buying lots that used to have houses on them, and we're going to give him a scenario, an option today for funding the construction of the houses. So ground up construction anywhere in the country, you can do that.
So that kind of gives you kind of a quick overview of fix and flip. If you're not planning on holding the property, you plan on doing a quick build, a quick rehab, and turn around and selling it right away. But there might be some scenarios where the customer may want to keep the property, correct? So Olivier talked about 203K loans, right? And I'm not going to go into all the details about a 203K loan, but there is, I'll call it Fannie Mae's, or FHA's brother, Fannie Mae, who does a Fannie Mae home style loan. Very similar to a 203K, so if you're familiar with the 203K, $35,000 worth of work or less is considered a streamline, as long as there's no structural. $35,000 or more is considered a full K. One thing about 203K loans, it has to be owner occupied. Fannie Mae has an option that's available for investors. So if you're an investor, it's only one unit properties only, so it can't be a multifamily. But if you have a person that's buying a house as an investment property, you can use it as a flip, but that's not really the intent of the program. It's really meant to be held. You can go up to an 85% loan to value. It's the lesser of the sales price plus improvement. So if you're buying a house for $100, you're putting $50,000 in improvement, that's $150, or the after improved value. So it's the lesser of the two. It's you have to put 15% down. It's a conventional loan, so it's standard conventional guidelines. It's income qualifying, it's credit qualifying, unlike the fix and flip program. But it's you can have a 15-year or 30-year term. Rates obviously are significantly lower because it's an investment property Fannie Mae loan, somewhere in the 5.5 to 5.875 range. That's based on your credit score, based on the LTV. If you do have an 85 LTV, there's mortgage insurance, but that mortgage insurance goes away once you hit 80. The amount of repairs are limited to 50% of the after approved value, so it's kind of restrictive. But if you have a customer that's maybe it's their first flip, maybe it's a property, and they do have normal steady income, they do have a regular, they can be self-employed, but they're documenting their income. This could be a good option for them as well. Like I said, it's usually meant to be held. You can also use the, if they are planning on renting it, you can use that rental income on that property to qualify. A couple other things is during renovation, it's a maximum 6 months renovation. It's not a multi-time close. They close one time, do the renovation, they can actually roll in their mortgage payments. So they don't actually have to make mortgage payments on the property while it's being renovated. So there's some nice features for a Fannie Mae home style, but it is a conventional credit qualifying, income qualifying loan. The other thing that we have that I think is also important for people that plan on holding the property, and you can use this in conjunction with the fix and flip and refinance into this, is we have a no income verification investment property loan. So basically, it's residential, 1 to 4 unit property, 30-year finance for investors looking to hold the rental property. You can actually do a cash out refi up to a 75% loan to value, a purchase to an 80% loan to value. And it can be individuals, LLCs, partnerships. So it can be a person that's, maybe bought the house, fixed it, decided, hey, I'm not going to flip this, but I got to pay off this other loan at 9%. There's no, it's all the income qualification is based on the rental. So they take the formula.
It's called a debt coverage loan, and they're going to take basically 95% of the rent. They want it to cover the PID, the principal, interest, tax, and insurance by $1. These are great loans. We do a ton of these loans every day. These are basically what Olivier said, non-QM. These are non-QM loans. So 10 years ago, you'd say to Rick or Joe, hey, listen, I state my income, and you get a loan. That went away for primary residence. It's not away. It's back big time for investment property. So we do a ton of these loans where people will do a fix and flip, or they buy something distressed, renovate it a little bit, put a tenant in it, they've got their cash tied up, we get them their cash back out. Interesting thing is not on the slide is a lot of these lenders who are doing these non-QM investor series loans, their seasoning requirements are terrific, meaning you only have to own the house 90 days before you close on it on the refi. So for example, right now at 2 o'clock today, I'm closing a loan. The investor paid $50,000 for the house. He put $12,500 in some renovations, and he rented it out for $13,500. Today he's going to a closing. Actually, we're going to his house for the closing. He's financed 70, it appraised. He's owned the house for less than 5 months. We got it appraised after he got the tenant in there. The appraisal came back at low 100s, maybe 110,000. We're doing like a $79,000 loan. He's going to recover his 50, recover his 12.5. Going to give him a check for 17.5. I think is his net check after closing costs, and it's positive cash flow on the property. He's done this 23 times since last July.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great loan. It's a great loan. We do this also, some on the slide, and the commercial side. So my world is just commercial and investor side, and that's where I work with Rick and Joe on, and I don't do anything like primary residence. So on the commercial side, we do the same thing, where we give the investor their cash back. So we got a lot of investors who are buying property, 40, 50, 60,000, renovating them a little bit. Sometimes they don't need much, sometimes they need a little more. They put a tenant in there, sometimes they use hard money, or if they have cash, we get all their money back to them, as long as the property appraises. And then 3 months of seasoning, they don't use purchase price. They're using appraised value. So if they're buying distressed properties for 50, the lender doesn't care you paid 50 and put in 12, as long as the appraisal's done. And I would say 1 out of 5 times, again, the appraisal comes in under 100,000, and I can't get the loan done because the loan minimum is 75,000 on that. But most of the time, when they get it cleaned up and get a tenant in there, get it rented, it's appraising for over the 100 or whatever it needs to appraise for to get them the loan back. But again, no tax returns, no W-2s. Don't even ask for them. Don't ask for tax returns, W-2s. It's hard to imagine, right? You thought, well, this all went away in 2008. It didn't go away for investors. It's back. There's about 5 or 6 big lenders who are doing these. There's direct portfolio lenders that are doing these types of loans, term banks, and they're going to qualify on credit score. They start at 650, 640, 650 on credit score, and up to get up to 75% LTV on a cash out basis. For 75%, you need a 700 above credit score. Is there a hand up? So they're going to qualify that on the appraisal and the lease. So if you don't have a lease, they use market rent. So we have $13.50 in a lease. They take 95% of $13.50, put it in what they call the rent calculator, and so $13.50, will wash out to whatever, $12.50 or $12.75, whatever it is. That's got to cover principal, interest, tax, insurance by $1. And so if you got the credit score, you got the value, you got the lease, your loans get done. It's really that straightforward. Yeah.
And what's the rate like?
30-year fixed rate is right around 7. I closed one last week. It was like high 6s and a 5-1 ARM. So they're 6-7%, between 6.5 and 7.
They aren't credit score driven. Those aren't credit score driven on the rates, right?
They are credit scores under rates, exactly right. So your LTV and your rate is definitely affected by credit score. So if you've got a lower credit score, rates will be a little bit higher. But here's the crazy thing. Can I answer your question about rates?
Yes.
So the other part of it is they also do what they call no ratio. Can you just remind me when you asked about the rate? So what's no ratio? Doesn't cover. So for example, I got a property in Linwood, 380 loan amount. Well, it's a seasonal rental market. So when we take the seasonal rental markets down the shore, they're in the Linwood, but here down the shore, the annual average rents don't cover principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. No problem. We're doing a loan, the rate's like 8.4. But here's the deal. He bought a bank-owned property, he renovated it. The 380, he's getting cash back, and he's going to keep it as a beach house, get all his cash back. And so the 8.4 worked for him. No rented seasonally.
The one thing,
Not to chime in, but I think when agents hear rates like 6 and 7, they're like, oh wow, that's really high. But what you have to understand is if you're working with an investor, you're only going to be able to get 10 loans typically through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So when that's done, what's your alternative? Right? And so, and I like to tell agents this because I like them to change their mindset of more of what the rate is, but if you're able to scale up to 25 and be cash flow positive using loans like this, you're going to be able to speed up faster.
It's a great point. I have clients who say, oh, I don't want those kind of rates. I say, listen, if you're willing to qualify conventionally, I have banks who do like a portfolio loan. So I'm on the phone this morning going over values with a client who gave me 14 loans. He owns 80 properties. She owns 80 properties. She gave me 14 loans. We're going through a bank. She's paying 5.25% on a 30-year fixed on a cash-out refinance, 70%. But it's basically she makes $1 million a year. She owns a snack company. She makes $1 million a year. She's great. She has 830 credit. So you can do it. These are really geared towards a lot of my investor clients. They had some of the profession, now the real estate investors. They don't really show a lot of income on their tax returns. They don't have W-2s. And so that's why this loan's attractive to them.
I think the thing to look at, and one thing I wanted to bring up also in addition is you have to live in this property, you have to own this property for 90 days before you can use the appraised value. Is that 90 days?
Yeah, 90-day season, correct.
90-day season. There's actually another option. So let's say you had, I don't know if you've heard the term delayed financing. So delayed financing is a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and I'll call it conventional type financing. Let's say you decide to buy a house, you decide to pay cash. And what's interesting is a lot of times if you're going to share sales or if you're going to auctions, you have to pay cash, right? They don't let you into the property, they don't let you do an appraisal. All these products, if I'm not mistaken, they do require an appraisal. So if you're going to a property at an auction where you can't buy, you're not allowed in the property, you're buying as is cash in 2 weeks. So we have a lot of customers that pay cash and they want to recoup that money. And they are credit qualified, they do have income from other sources. We can do what's called delayed financing, which means that's a Fannie Mae loan, they'll get Fannie Mae terms, so they'll get Fannie Mae rates. And you can take the loan to values based off the sales price of the contract plus the closing costs. So we get a copy of the I was going to say HUD, the closing disclosure, right? And they bought the house for $100,000, they had $7,000 in closing costs. We base that loan to value of $107,000. And we'll loan up to based on their credit score and what they're doing with the property. Owner occupied, you can go up to a 95% loan to value. Actually go up to 97% loan to value. Investment, you can actually go up to an 85 loan to value, and that would be normal Fannie, Freddie, conventional rates, and you don't have to wait the 90 days. Matter of fact, I think you have to do it within 6 months for the delayed financing. So that is just another alternative. These are really, I guess the best way to look at it is there's a box, right? That's the Fannie, Freddie box. And you got to have income, you have to look at your debt to income ratios, you have to have credit scores above 620. If you're living in the property as primary residence, if you're not, it's an investment property, and they're pretty standard on their box. All of these products we're talking about today, obviously a little higher risk, a little higher interest rate, but they're options for customers that may not have them. I mean, it's a wonderful story where you said the guy bought a house for $75,000, but
No, people under 50, he put 12.5 into it. And he's a great guy. He's been on the phone this morning. He's a great guy. He's become a friend. He's a client. He complained to me yesterday, big time, about the rate. I started laughing. He said, "What are you laughing at me for?" I said, "Ben, you used $50,000 from your mother-in-law. You put $12,000 into the house. I'm giving you the $62,000 back. You gave me the check for $17,500. Oh, and you make $325 a month, positive cash flow. And you're complaining about the rate. And you don't have a job. He hasn't had a job in 2 years. I swear to you, he hasn't had a job in 2 years. He's a great guy. He does not have a job. His mother-in-law is 62.5. He's getting 17.5 back, paying her, and making $300 a month. And he complained about the rate. I said, I'm going to hang up on you. And he's a great guy. He's become a friend. I can really hang up on him. But they do complain about the rate. But at the end of the day, think about that deal. He's done it 23 times since July of last year. So now he's got 23 properties paying him a couple $100 a month. His goal is 100. I said, if I can get you a lower rate, I would. I definitely would. And you know, with these rates, just so you understand, on these rates, like they don't pay us anything on what they call the back end or the yield. So I make it on. He pays about 2 points in one of those loans, 2.5 points. So I'll make $2,000 in a commission on that, but not on the rate. So if the rate's lower, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not making money on the interest rate. But still a pretty good deal. A good those rate for him, right? We wouldn't take that deal. I need his mother-in-law. What I need. Let me 65 every day. We won't spend any time. I know you've been here a long time, but just on commercial, mixed use. So I'm doing a 16-unit apartment right now, debt coverage loan. Again, I didn't collect tax returns. The borrower made, I actually have his tax return, but I didn't need it for the loan I'm doing for him. I think he made $54,000 last year. I'm getting him a $640,000 loan because it's 16 units, fully occupied, with a really nice net operating income every year. So we're doing a debt coverage loan. His rate is high. It's 7.75 within a 30-year commercial loan. Same thing, he bought this distressed property, kind of renovated it with some cash or hard money, fully rented it out. So we can do the same thing on the commercial, 5 units and higher.
So I think in just closing, thank you for your time. Dominic Ravetti, his phone number, we'll send this presentation out to you.
Yeah.
My phone number if you have any questions, and Joe, our loan officer, you can contact him as well. If you look at real estate through the years, from the beginning of time, you look at the ups and downs of real estate, it's all based on financing, right? If you think of it, in the 1970s, the average price of a house was about $15,000 in this area. Why? Because you had to put 20% down. Right? There was no other options. Then you start to see mortgage insurance come in, and you put less than 20% down, and prices went up. Then you saw in the late 80s, right, the savings and loan companies went out, and boom, next thing you know, house prices dropped because there was no available money. Then you watched the Fannie and Freddie come in, FDIC came in, started protecting things. You started to see prices go up, all the way up from really the early 90s all the way up to 2011. Why? Because there was financing, crazy terms. You could buy a house with no money down, no job, no credit, and you get a loan through Fannie and Freddie. Obviously in 2011, everything kind of crashed and spiraling down. You'll never see what happened in 2008 happen again. A lot of laws and a lot of regulations went in place of that. But you're starting to see investors like this on commercial, right? That's going to help the economy and help real estate. You're starting to see no money down customers for first-time home buyers. You're starting to see stated income loans for people with good down payments. You're starting to see a lot of different financing options. So when you're working with a buyer, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the property type is, give Joe a call, give myself or Dominic a call. There might be an option there for him. We're going to try to find the best terms for him based on the box that they fit in, but I wouldn't say, oh my gosh, 6% is a high rate, or I hear I get 3.5. Let's take a look and see what their whole overall picture is, property, the customer type, and we'll find the best financing for it.
And one thing I want to say about hard money is that if you look at the cost of the hard money compared to having a partner that you might do 50-50 with, usually the hard money is going to be cheaper. That's why I try to tell people, don't really focus on the rate, focus on how you can leverage it.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for Dominic, Olivier, or myself?
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions on the fix and flip part, the renovation side, or the finance side, definitely shoot us the questions.
Shoot us. Get out of the way then.
Shoot us the questions. Shoot us the questions.
Yes, I have a question. So thank you for the presentation, Dominic. So I have a question on the financing side. You had mentioned the ground up fixing, and that is at a different, like acquisition costs.
Dominic.
Different acquisition costs to the purchaser versus regular fixing and flip.
So if it's the ground up, meaning it's a brand new property, or brand new just land,
Just
correct?
land, yeah. I think I mentioned 50% versus purchasing a regular, rehab property at 10%.
Yeah. You're buying raw land?
Yeah.
50% of the land cost refinanced, depending if you permit, the place a little higher, no permit, raw land, 50%, and then all the construction budget, basically.
If they own the land free and clear,
If they already own the land free and clear, we can fund the construction. So depending on how long they've owned that land, what they paid for, the stories with that. Generally, I'm doing one right now in Pennsylvania. He's owned a parcel of land. We're doing, and his construction budget is $350. We funded the entire construction budget.
Okay, so purchasing the land, say this land is, say 100 grand. for example.
And you own it already?
No.
Oh, Virginia?
Yeah, we're going to purchase and, building, say 4 family.
Okay.
So pretty much the same numbers, 100% financing, that was 50%.
You can buy that land, 50 down, 50,000 down, and we'll finance the whole construction budget. The cap on that loan is going to be 75% of the appraised value. So when they're going to look at that forecast, it's going to be done, it's going to be worth 500. So your loan maximum is going to be 400.
And do you find that to be more favorable versus
You mean rates? Definitely. Yeah. So it's in New Jersey. 6 1/4 interest only, 18-month term. It's basically 1.5 points above Wall Street Journal Prime, which is 4.75 today, so it's like 6 1/4. So yeah, definitely more favorable.
and probably the reason behind it, why it's cheaper than a renovation loan, is you're not uncovering problems, right? You've already kind of built it from the ground up, so it's not like you're breaking a wall and all of a sudden, oh gosh, asbestos. So it's a lot of you're not going to run into that
Full
$80,000.
disclosure on that loan at 6 1/4, that's you're qualifying that conventional based on your income and your debts. If you're not going to go conventionally, you're going to be back to those rates that we were looking at on the flip side. You still do it, but you're not going to get those kind of rates. Those are bank rates, so that have to be underwritten by a portfolio bank. That's going to look at your income, your debts, and qualifying that way.
We also have available, I don't have all the information, you can actually do a ground-up construction, FHA, VA, conventionally, and maybe even USDA. So, which you have to do credit qualifying, but you can do as little as 3% down if you're going to own or occupy the property. So there is some options if you have raw land, you're looking to build a home, your dream home, there is some options, which Joe gave you that information, but you can actually do ground-up construction, one-time close, and do land acquisition and construction. I don't know about four family, you probably have to go down to an 80 LTV, 75 LTV.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your time, by the way.
So save the date, Carl.
Yeah.
The top
September
agent-
12th.
September 12th, we're going to have our top agent panel, which is going to be great. I enjoy learning, we all do, from other agents, and the top agent panel will definitely open up some different perspectives. Thank you all for coming. Hope this was helpful, and we're always here with any questions. Thanks, guys.